All right, good afternoon, everyone. It is noon, and we are going to go ahead and get started. We will post this briefing online so that you can share it with your friends and go back and reference it. We are conducting these virtual briefings online for individuals that cannot make it to the scheduled in-person rallies and volunteer briefings. If you are in the area of one of those in-person rallies and briefings, you can sign up and attend for free. Bring friends. You can get all that information at yesonrecall.org. Click under events. And again, people who attend those in-person briefings will all be given free Yes on Recall lawn signs to distribute in their area. I'm Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California, and the purpose of today's briefing is to give you some message points on how to convey the best and most effective case to your friends, your family, your neighbors on why they should vote yes to recall Gavin Newsom. We also have an opportunity for you to get involved as a volunteer, and I'll explain why that role of volunteers is crucial to the win that we hope to have in this election. So with that, let's get started. A little bit of housekeeping details. If you want to ask questions, all you have to do is raise your hand. And at the end of the presentation, we will take questions. You also can ask questions by typing in your question into the dialog box. If you're on a phone, all you have to do is hit *9 to raise your hand, and then you'll hear a tone when you've been called on your call line. If we don't answer your question, or if you think of something after the presentation, by all means, email us at info@reformcalifornia.org, and you'll get a response within 24 hours. So with that, let's get started. A recall election is unlike anything you've participated in recent memory. The last recall election you probably participated in was the Gray Davis recall in 2003. So a lot of voters are not familiar with what the ballot's going to look like. And that's why if you want to be an effective volunteer in the effort to get yes on recall to a majority vote, we have to first explain to our neighbors what the recall ballot looks like and how to fill it out. There will be two questions and only two questions on the ballot. First question, should Governor Gavin Newsom be recalled from office? This is a yes/no question. No candidates are listed except for a question about Governor Gavin Newsom. Should Governor Gavin Newsom be recalled from office? In other words, should we fire the guy currently in office? A yes vote would remove, a no vote would retain. So we have to be explicit with our friends, our family members, our colleagues, anyone who wants to get rid of Gavin Newsom. Fill in the bubble for yes. And I know that it might seem like obvious that that's how you should do it. Do not assume anything. Make sure that the voter knows that in order to fire Gavin Newsom, they must vote yes on the first question. They have to fill in the bubble yes. That's why our campaign is emphasizing yes on recall. That's why the website is yesonrecall.org. You'd be astonished at how many people do not know that this is not a campaign of Newsom running against other candidates. This is a campaign that has two parts. The first part is, should we fire him? And that's why you have to vote yes on recall, that first question. If we get 50% plus one, Newsom is replaced. He's booted out of office. If we do not get 50% plus one on that first question, it doesn't matter what happens on the second question. Let me repeat that. If we don't get 50% plus one on the yes question, nothing matters after that point on the ballot. Now, they will tabulate the votes for the second part of the ballot, but it doesn't remove him from office, and that's what we want. So the second question is where you're going to find a list of candidates. We expect that there will be about 100 candidates on that list. They will be in randomized order based on a drawing of the letters of the alphabet, and they will be listed with their first their last name in the order in which the letter is drawn. So you have 100 candidates you're going to have to wade through to find the one that you like the most. But remember, question two, when you vote on which candidate you want to replace Newsom with, assuming we win 50% plus one on the first ballot, the first question, That person does not need to get a majority vote. They just need to get the most votes total. They just have to get the most raw votes. So, for example, if Californians decide to, look at that list of 100 candidates and they gravitate towards Ronald Reagan, but he only gets 15%, doesn't matter. He will be the governor. Provided that we win the first vote, which is yes on recall, and the office is vacant, then the person with the most votes in question 2 becomes the governor. So here's Abraham Lincoln, Margaret Thatcher, all breaking up. And then you get down to the Democrats, Lenin, Mao, Sanders, AOC. She's excited because 6% is still higher than her IQ. The reason why we don't have to worry about question 2, and I know a lot of your friends are going to say, but who are we going to endorse? Who are we going to vote for in the question 2? We got to get behind one candidate. That's not true at all. We do not have to get behind one candidate. And in fact, I'd make the argument that having multiple candidates, good candidates out there, and there are a number of very good candidates out there, it helps us get 50% plus one on the first question to recall Gavin Newsom, because each of these candidates are going to draw new people into our coalition. So we know that no named Democrat, no name ID Democrat, no Democrat with any sort of profile is going to put their name on the replacement ballot. That's important because the only people with name ID will be Republicans, and we will have a Republican at the top of the pile when the question 2 is finally calculated and tabulated. So that's how the recall ballot works. It's unlike any ballot you've had before. And so you've got to make sure you explain to your friends and neighbors and family members that they have to vote yes on the first question, fill in the bubble, yes, and then they can pick any candidate of their choosing on that second question. Okay, when will the election be held? September 14th, which is what we assumed would be the case. They do an early election. But the Sacramento politicians have decided to use the very high risk approach of a mail-in ballot election, all mail-in ballot election. So everyone will be getting a mail-in ballot. The polling stations will be limited, but they will be open on election day. Some will also have a few stations in some counties prior to that, but everyone will get a mail-in ballot, very similar to what we saw back in November. This is going to raise a lot of opportunities for voter fraud. And so it's not our preferred approach. We are going to have an election integrity effort going on. We'll talk about that in a minute. But everybody will be getting a ballot in the mail. If you don't get a ballot in the mail, something's wrong, and you need to contact the registrar of voters office and make sure you get yourself a ballot. You will get your ballot about 30 days out of September 14th. So plus or minus August 15th, ballots will be in voters' mailboxes. That means our campaign has only 4 weeks to do 2 things, and in this priority order, by the way. Number 1, we have to go out and turn out our yes votes, people who do not have to be convinced to vote yes. They don't like Newsom, but many of them may not know that they got a ballot. Many of them may not understand that there's an election going on. You'd be surprised. A lot of people aren't aware that an election's going on. So we got to go out and find those Republican and independent voters, and yes, some of the Democrat voters that we've tagged already who are in favor of yes on recall. We got to just make sure they fill out their ballot and turn it in. Whether they mail it in or walk it in to the polling station on election day, I don't care, but we got to get them to turn in their ballot. So turnout is everything in this election. Number 2, yes, we will only have 4 weeks, and we will try, but as a second priority, not a first priority, we will try to convince undecided voters. Why is that important? Well, this election is all about turnout. The latest polling on the recall from Public Opinion Strategies, which is an independent polling firm, they're very credible, shows that even when you model the turnout to have a 22-point lead for Democrats in terms of 22% more voters are Democrat than Republicans, we still are in a virtual tie. Yes is 46, no is 50, and undecided is 4. An absolute tie. that 22% Democrat vote edge turnout is a very generous model for the Democrats. I don't think they're going to get that. Why? Because nobody is really joyous about voting for Golden Boy Newsom. Democrats who are voting for him are like, okay. If I don't have a dental appointment, I might go vote for Gavin. They're not happy. They're not excited. They're not going to work hard for him. He doesn't fit their identity politics mold. He's male, pale, and stale. So they're not really joyous about volunteering for him or working for him or even voting for him. But worst case scenario, we are tied, and with a more likely turnout scenario of about 14% Democrat vote edge, meaning we get a lot of our Republicans to turn in their ballots and the Democrats don't get as many of their people to turn in ballots. We win with a pretty decided margin of 53 to 44. Top replacement candidates, according to a variety of polls, Larry Elder, John Cox, and Caitlyn Jenner are the top Republican candidates right now. Lower ranked candidates, Kevin Kiley and Doug Osee, mainly because they don't have a lot of name ID. Kevin Faulconer, low ranked candidate because he doesn't have name ID outside of San Diego, and those people in San Diego know him and don't particularly like him. So we have lower ranked candidates and we have top tier replacement candidates. Again, this is according to the polling. This could change, but in a short election, it's unlikely that a lot of these numbers will change significantly. Our job is not to worry about the replacement side. I think that we're going to be just fine. We're going to get a Republican at the top of the pile. One of these three candidates, is my prediction, will be at the top of the pile. What we need is to make sure we really stay united and invite everyone, no matter who they're supporting on the replacement ballot, they have to vote yes on recall. And so who's supporting the recall? According to the polling, it's not just a Republican effort. Newsom is lying about that. A majority of independents support the recall. 20% of Democrats, 1 in 5 Democrats support the recall. A majority of Latinos, 1/3 of Asians, 1/4 of African Americans. This is a very diverse movement. Here's why. Gavin Newsom's policies have been so crappy that he's all brought us together. He has hurt so many people across the spectrum with his bad policies that it has built a very diverse coalition supporting the yes on recall side. Before we talk about how to win on yes on recall, let's take a look at how we got here in the first place. How did we qualify a recall election? How do we even get a chance to vote on this? It's all because of the grassroots. It wasn't because of the California Republican Party. They were late to the game. It wasn't because of millionaires and billionaires. They didn't give any money to this. The media, nope. They've been in the tank for Golden Boy Gavin for a long time. They've been covering up his failings. They will continue to fluff and puff him up. What we are seeing is that this has been driven exclusively by you, grassroots, average Californians. And everyone has gotten together and they just give a few hours here and there, and it builds up into a massive movement of people who are able to do quite a lot by working together. We've had very little paid efforts. There's been some Facebook, some mail, some paid circulators to get the signatures. But guess what worked? One-on-one communication. Friends telling friends, neighbors telling neighbors, family members telling family members, colleagues telling colleagues. That word of mouth marketing and outreach was what was the secret sauce. And we had over 30,000 core volunteer circulators helping collect signatures. Now we need to take that same strategy and expand upon it. We are not going to have the millions of dollars that Gavin Newsom is going to get from special interests. His special interest backers know that he will, in a very corrupt way, give them favors in exchange for millions of dollars of campaign support to fight off the recall. We're not going to get that money. What we have is an opportunity to recruit volunteers who give free time, work hard on their own accord, and that's how we're going to win. I'm absolutely confident of that. And so we need to bring together all the groups working together, trying to reach different constituencies in their own way. Reform California, obviously, with the Yes on Recall effort. Yes, the California Republican Party needs to be part of this. Hopefully they don't screw it up by endorsing one candidate. I think that would be a mistake, and it would marginalize them after as part of this effort. We need county Republican parties active. I'm really thrilled about what Orange County is doing, Riverside, San Diego. Many of our other counties are really active as well. Republican Governors Association, individual candidates. I love what all these candidates are doing, most of the candidates, because they really are making the case for yes on recall in their own way. Rescue California, which is a paid group of consultants that are raising money and spending. California Patriot Coalition, which is a great activist group that has really taken this and been a leader on it. But all of these organizations, and maybe additional organizations, other committees might step forward. They all need to work together and focus on that uniting message, which is yes on recall. If you find someone creating drama about their candidate or whatnot, tell them to knock it off. Newsom is the common target. Yes on recall is what we should be conveying. And there's no room for egos, no room for elbows around the table. Just get the job done. Get the work done. So today I announced the platform we will be using for activating our grassroots volunteers statewide. It's called I360, and you can download it on your cell phone. Now, I know some of you say, oh, I don't like downloading things. This app is secure. This app is a trusted app. This is used by Republican candidates, conservative candidates across the country. It is secure. You download the app and you will be given credentials, a user and password for you to then enter the app. Once you're in there, you will be able to use that app to make phone calls. You'll be able to walk door to door, and you can do text messaging. This is an important app for you to use. If you don't want to use an app, we can still work to activate you as a volunteer, but it would be far more effective if you use the app. And here's why. This app allows us to feed you a list of voters who are either undecided or who have not yet returned their ballot. We don't want to waste your time. We don't want you knocking on doors of Democrats who are so far left that we will never get their vote. They will just waste your time at the door. We don't want to have that happen. We do not want you knocking on doors where the ballot's already been returned. Again, a waste of time. And yes, I might actually have you skip over Republican households that we know are perfect voters and that they are definitely going to vote for in this election for the recall. We don't want you to talk to them because you're probably going to get into a 5-hour conversation about all the things you agree on. No, I'm going to be serving up, our campaign will serve up a list that is already tailor-made to really reach those undecided voters and what we call the lazy voters who may not return their ballot in this election, but we need them to return their ballot. When you call, it will automatically dial. You don't do anything. You just sit there and you wait for someone to say hello. All you do is sit there with a headset, or you just sit there with your cell phone in your hand, and it will automatically dial, and you don't have to wait for ringtones and whatnot. It automatically connects you to someone who's answered the phone. It also is anonymous. It will not be coming from your cell phone number. It'll be coming from the cell phone or the telephone number of the campaign. So it'll be completely anonymous for you. For walking, not only will it have the name of your neighbors, but it will also give you a nice walk map on what path you should take to walk your neighborhood. And for texting, it will preload a message, and all you do is you sit there and hit one single button, and it automatically will send the text message to the voters that we're targeting. As I mentioned, who are we targeting? Republicans who are lazy. We call them lazy because they don't always vote. So we need to make sure that those Republicans who are lazy, who have a spotty voting record, that they actually return their ballots this election. If we get all the Republicans who voted for President Trump returning their ballots in the recall election, that's all we need to win. Independents who are persuadable, we are using a data analytics model that will flag and identify independent voters that are probably most receptive to our messaging. And then finally, Democrats only if they've already indicated that they are voting yes on recall or open to voting yes on recall. Here is a picture of the door hanger. The phone from a home program, and the reason why I have the door hanger there is because it has the messaging points. But the phone from home program begins on Monday. So if you want to sign up to get the app and be a volunteer, you go to yesonrecall.org, you sign up to be a volunteer, and you will get your credentials this weekend, and we will start having you make phone calls as early as Monday. Now, you don't have to make them on Monday. If you want to wait till later on the week, that's fine. But here's what I'm asking you to do. The first round of calls will be something called voter ID calls. That's where you're going to be calling and saying, hi, I'm Carl from the Yes on Recall campaign. Do you plan to vote yes in the upcoming election to recall Gavin Newsom? If they say yes, you say, thank you. You should receive your ballot by August 15th. Please make sure you return it as soon as possible. Have a nice day, and you hang up. If they say no, you'll be able to click no, and we'll move along. And you just say, thank you for your time. You don't debate them. Just thank you for your time, and you move on. And if they say I'm undecided, then you also note that, and then you give them a little bit of a reason to vote yes on recall. So the first round of calls, which we're doing between July 19th and August 15th, which is a little less than 4 weeks, will be voter ID calls, okay? The second round of calls will be what we call persuasion and turnout calls. And that's where we're going to be going after voters once the ballots hit the mailbox. And we're going to ask a simple question. Did you get your ballot yet? Did you mail it in yet? Make sure you get it right now. Put it on the table right now and fill out the vote right now. All it takes is 2 little bubbles. Do it right as we're talking, please. And what you want to do is get them to get that ballot returned. And if they don't have a ballot, then that's when you tell them you need to contact your registrar or voter's office by Friday and ask them for a new ballot, because apparently your ballot did not arrive. We will continue to repeat calls to that universe and lists that we tee up until all of the ballots are in from our likeliest voters that will vote yes. That's the call from home program. Super simple. You don't have to do hours of calling every day. If you can squeeze in 30 minutes, thank you. If you can do 15 minutes, thank you. If you can do 2 hours, thank you. Whatever you can do, it all adds up. Walking door to door. We will have the door hangers delivered from the printer by July 31st. I think the first place that we will have them for sure is at our Orange County rally in Irvine on Saturday, July 31st at 9:30 in the morning. We may get it earlier for some of our other rallies in Southern California. They will also be available through select county Republican parties. We also have a downloadable, printable version on the website, yesonrecall.org. We ask that if you can't get your hands on the actual door hanger, to simply print out that 8.5 by 11 pamphlet and just print it out at home or Kinko's and just use that to go door to door. If you can cover postage, we will mail door hanger packets to you as well. But the door hangers will be available either printing out at the convenience of your home. And, you know, Kamala Harris apparently says us conservatives, we don't know how to use a printer. Yeah. You can either do that or you can arrange to get the door hangers. We just ask that you cover the postage for them. We will have you go door to door, starting when ballots hit. If you want to go door to door ahead of time, I'm not opposed to that. But if you can only do maybe, 2 rounds of 35 to 40 doors, I'd rather have you do it when people have ballots in their hands. It's just like a real, it's a point of purchase that you can get them with the ballot in the hand. Now, look at that great picture. Yeah, I know. Yeah, he does look very creepy. There are a number of reasons to recall Gavin Newsom. And I know that many of you already know the reasons, but I want to share with you the reasons that are, according to the polling, the best reasons to use to convince undecided voters to vote yes on recall. The overall theme is that Sacramento politicians are broken and corrupt. We have a swamp in Sacramento. and that we have a broken system, and that the best way to send a message that we want to shake up the system is to fire a politician like Gavin Newsom. Here are the top 5 reasons, according to the polling, to fire Gavin Newsom. Number 1, California is unaffordable. Newsom raised taxes, destroyed jobs, imposed mandates, making housing, gas, utilities, and more too expensive. That's important to hit on. It's not just taxes. It's also destroying jobs. It's also mandates. It all rolls into the big thing, which is, boy, it costs too much to live here. Mention housing, gas, and utilities. He made all of those more expensive. He's taking your money and making it unaffordable for you. So that's the first major argument that wins votes. Second, crime is skyrocketing. Newsom's coddle the criminal policies have led to the worst increase in crime in decades, with a spike in murders and robberies. We also mentioned that Newsom supports the release of sex offenders and signed a bill allowing sex offenders to avoid being registered as sex offenders, even if they assault boys and girls as young as 14. This crime issue is big with African Americans and with Latinos. Schools are failing. Newsom ordered our schools to close. While our schools continue to get worse, they're already the bottom 5th. Homelessness is everywhere. The filth is on our streets. Newsom is wasting billions on failed homeless programs. And finally, special privileges for politicians. And this is a one where you give an example, and there's 2 great examples to use. Newsom shut down the economy, but he dined without a mask with his lobbyist friends. I know some of you don't like masks, but to our persuadable voters, they like masks. So point out that he dined without a mask at the height of the pandemic with his lobbyist friends. Also, let them know that Newsom forced unemployed workers to wait months to get their benefits. They didn't have money to put food on the table, but he never missed a paycheck. And of course, he gave himself a raise. Those are the 5 major messages that we are finding are polling the highest and persuading the most voters to vote yes on recall. I know that you might say, well, what about, I talk about illegal immigration? That's all well and good. And yes, he did, his policies are terrible on that. But these are the 5 best reasons to emphasize, and then let the person you're talking to raise other issues as well. Common objections, there's 2. First is, oh, but Gavin gave me a bunch of free stuff. I got $600 this month. You know what the best response to that is? Gavin Newsom didn't care when you lost your job a year ago or when your neighbor lost their job. It was him that cost them their job. He didn't even give them unemployment benefits when they lost their job. But when his own job was put on the line, then he started showing up with all the free giveaways for you. That's when he started bothering to check in on your welfare. So this guy's a typical politician. He didn't care about you when you needed help. He only cared about you when his own ass was on the line. Second objection is, oh, but I'm a Democrat. I don't like Republicans. Well, you don't have to vote for a Republican. All you need to do is vote yes on recall to show that no politician, no matter what party they're from, can be as much of a failure as Newsom and get away with it. So vote yes on the recall. And then on the replacement section, you can still vote for your batshit crazy, your Democrat selection if you would like. So Democrats can be convinced to vote yes on recall and then let them vote for whatever Democrat candidate they want to vote for. We're also delivering our messages across other channels, but the number one is the volunteer approach. We are going to put money into paid media, primarily digital. The digital ads are very effective, we've found, in targeting specific voters. TV and cable, I'll just let you know, he's going to cream us on TV and cable. He's going to have so much more money than us on TV and cable, but we can only work with what we have. So we'll see if other groups can end up doing some TV and cable, but we just have to work with what we have. Volunteers in digital can win this campaign, and that's where we're going to put our eggs in that basket. Obviously, earned media and candidate efforts as well. Over there is an example of a text message that we were sending out to get signatures during the signature drive. We will do similar sorts of text messages during the Yes on Recall vote coming up. So what do we have to do? Well, we have to recruit 100,000 volunteers. And we are right now cresting about 80,000 volunteers statewide. We are going to hit 100,000. Keep asking your friends to sign up as a volunteer at yesonrecall.org. Second, we promise to give you talking points and tools. You just got the talking points. It's on the door hanger in the flyer that you can access through yesonrecall.org. And guess what? The app is your tool. And then we have regional structures with local events and rallies throughout the entirety of the campaign. Next, we have to deploy volunteers. Once you download the app on Monday and you type in your user and your password, then you will start using the app. You might say, well, I don't know how to use an app. Well, it's pretty intuitive, but we have 2 training videos available for you. One walks you through how to make phone calls. The other walks you through how to use the app to walk door to door. And so those 2 videos will also be in your welcome email when you get it on Monday. To sign up for the app, to sign up to volunteer, go to yesonrecall.org, click under volunteer and sign up. Simple as that. While we go through the Yes on Recall campaign, we have a separate team that's working on Audit the voter rolls. Rick Grinnell at Fix California has launched an audit effort. It's very important that we're doing this as the recall is happening. This is not just about the recall, it's about the recall and 2022 and elections thereafter. If violations of election law, either state or local or state or federal, occur, we are prepared to litigate those issues in court. And we also have an aggressive integrity watch effort underway. As you know, last year in October, Reform California issued a report documenting that 1 in 10 households received an erroneous ballot during the November 2020 election because the voter rolls are a complete mess. We are going to be having a similar effort done this recall, and we'll be giving you a website where you can report problems in erroneous ballots received. As you walk door to door and as you make phone calls, if someone says, oh yeah, I got my ballot, but I also got 5 other ballots for this Juan, Dick, Harry, and Suzette and Maria, let them know that they should report that at the website we provide you when we launch the election integrity portion of the campaign. So your tasks today. First, get your friends to sign up as a volunteer. We still need to hit that 100,000 mark. There are some parts of the state where we do not have coverage for precinct walking. We need to get the volunteers activated as soon as possible. Go to yesonrecall.org. Second, post on social media. When you leave here today, please put yesonrecall.org on your page, your Twitter, your Instagram, your social media. Encourage people to go and sign up as a volunteer. Each week, we'll send you an email once you're on the volunteer list with an assignment. Okay, let's start out. Dave, get the first question going. I'm going to answer questions from the dialog box. Frank asks, will the i360 texting feature involve text charges for the users? Answer is no, it's free. We're paying for it. It's not free to us, but we're paying for the calls and we're paying for the text costs. All you're doing is using the app, which is all free. There will be no charges to your cell phone or your cell phone bill. So you can confidently text, call, use the app any which way you would like, and not have to worry about that. So there you go. Next is, we know voter fraud is real, especially with mail-in ballots. How do we assure that the election is secure?
No. You do before. Okay, you do your thing. I'm gonna do my thing.
James?
I know.
James O, you are on. Go ahead and ask your question, James.
Oh,
James, are you there?
hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you're on air. Go
Oh,
ahead and ask.
sorry, that was an accident. Sorry, I didn't know it was on.
Okay, sorry about that. Crystal asks about voter integrity. How do we reassure that our election is secure? What routes or people can we reach out to make sure our votes will be counted correctly? I wish I had a better answer for you. The Democrats like to run fraudulent elections. They've created an all mail-in ballot election. They don't care about the risks. They want those ballots floating around out there so they can engage in their dangerous practice of ballot harvesting. Not anything we can do to stop them right now from the way in which they want to conduct the election, but we are putting in place one of the most aggressive election integrity efforts we've ever had for Republicans ever. And you will be getting the information and instructions on how to be part of that. Part of that will be flagging these erroneous ballots as they come in and documenting how badly the voter rolls have been maintained in the state of California. Next question, is there a way to ensure we are not texting and calling the same people over and over again? This bugs me. I'm sure it bugs others. We will be updating the list so that you're only calling people that either have not returned a ballot or people where we have not connected with them yet. So I don't know what systems you've used in the past, but we will be freshening the lists or keeping the lists up to date so you won't have to worry about calling people repeatedly that have already gotten information. Will there be a write-in option for Democrats? There are write-in options, but the deadline for a write-in option, I believe, is going to be late August. And so it would be hard for a write-in candidate to suddenly pop up and have a chance. Democrats are good at filling in bubbles, but not remembering names to write in. So I don't really worry about the write-in issue. But if they want to write in someone, they can, but if they're not a qualified candidate, it won't count. So any other questions? Cannot be that I was that comprehensive about everything. Margaret says, where are we with fundraising? We are all grassroots campaign. And so if you want to contribute, you can go to yesonrecall.org, yesonrecall.org to contribute. The average contribution is $67 to the campaign. And we are literally funding this budget day to day in terms of what's coming in, week to week. We are not fully funded by any stretch. So if you can raise money, if you can contribute, please do that at yesonrecall.org. Item 2 in the door hanger still has an error. It should say worse, not worse. Yes, you're looking at the old version. The printed version was correct. So I used the old version we emailed out to everybody, the printer's proof. I assume if volunteering for walking, Tanya asks, I assume if volunteering for walking it is in my local area. Yes, we will give you a walk list for your immediate neighborhood. So you will be able to walk that neighborhood. Or if you say, I've already done my neighborhood, give me another one. We will have you go to a local neighborhood closest to you that's not yet covered by another volunteer. Let's go to Mario. Mario, you're on.
Where to get a lawn sign?
You can go online to the campaign store and order one, and it will be shipped directly to you. Or you can get a lawn sign by attending any one of our in-person events, and those events are listed online at yesonrecall.org. Or you can go to the county Republican parties that have the lawn signs, call them ahead of time to make sure that they do have them in supply, because several of the county parties have already gone through their supply, and we're trying to restock them. So those are the options for getting the lawn signs. Linda says, is the walk list for registered Republican voters and Republican homes? Yes, Linda, we will be hitting Republican homes, but we will also be hitting independent homes and a very small handful of Democrat homes. And it will all be based upon the data analytics profile of who we think are the most likely to vote in our direction. We are going to have you skip homes that either have no voters in them or homes that we suspect that the voters in that house are never going to see our point of view. We want you to be efficient with your time, so we will have you skip certain homes. That's why using the app list is so important. Sherilyn says, if someone votes yes but does not fill in a candidate bubble due to not sure, is the ballot valid? Yes, Sherilyn, you can vote yes on recall and not fill in a candidate. You can't, you don't have to vote on both questions. My worry really is that you're going to have people vote for a candidate on the second part of the ballot, and they're going to skip the first part, which is they're going to vote yes on the recall part. So that's where I think our biggest problem is in educating voters is yes on recall. You have to fill in that bubble, and then you can fill in the bubble for the candidate of your choice. Let's go to Daria next. Daria.
Hi, Carl. Two quick questions. You mentioned, I think once before, we assume there's going to be some decent Democrat, if there is such a thing, that will jump in, because right now, isn't that something that might keep people from not voting? Would rather have Gavin than some Republican in there?
It is. I'm surprised. I will say I'm quite surprised that there's no ambitious wingnut Democrat that's decided to get into this race at this point. Although we still have 24 hours, a little over 24 hours until filing deadline is done. So if there is no if there's no Democrat that gets in the race, the Democrats think that will force their base just to vote no.
Yes.
And call it a day. That's where our messaging of, well, you need to vote yes, and then you can vote for whatever Democrat you want on the ballot. We're finding that actually is working. So I think it's a mistake for them to be doing what they're doing, but hey, let them do what they want to do.
Again, you're assuming that someone's going to get in there, so they have that option.
I'm assuming now that they're not going to do that.
Well, then if there's no Democrat that comes in, then they have to do the write-in option. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Or there are other Democrats on the ballot. There's like 30 Democrats that have.
Okay.
The name in.
Okay. I didn't know that.
But there's no name Democrat. There's no big name Democrat on the ballot. It's like Mr. Magoo, Democrat.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Yeah.
That's why I'm saying they're in trouble. I think they made a big mistake by not putting a candidate up, but they're trying to be all macho and all united. I think they are terribly misreading the polling. I think they do not understand the nature of recall elections. So,
I have one more quick question about the texting. When you press the text option on the app, you already have a text that's going to jump out. What happens? How does that text feature work?
The text feature is that you will be texting a message to a list that we've already set up. If there's no text project that's live, it'll say, sorry, check back later. There are no texting projects going on right now.
So that's something you do instead of calling someone on your list.
Right. And so what we will do is we will say, first call people.
Okay.
And then if there is a texting project underway, when you go into the texting feature, it'll say start texting. But if there is no project underway, it'll say, sorry, there are no texting projects underway right now for the campaign.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Kathy says, I'm out of state for the next month. Can I still use the app? Oh, yes. Kathy, you can call from anywhere. You can call from India. You can call, and I think that's where Gavin's going to get his call banks. You can call literally anywhere in the world. But all we ask is that you be mindful of what time zone California is in when you're calling. So don't make any calls in the middle of the night. That's not good. Do we have Mario next? Mario, are you there? No, Mario. Art Sarno asks, is the text message pre-constructed or does the caller create? No, it's all pre-constructed. You don't have to do any work. You just have to talk to people when you call, talk to people when you walk, and just click the button for texting. The reason why we have to have you click the button for texting is that under a federal law, we don't send mass texts. You have to personally send the text. And once you personally send the text, when they reply to it, it doesn't go to you. It goes, if they reply to it, it goes to the campaign headquarters, and then we manage dialogue with a group of volunteers in headquarters. And that's where we start talking to voters and persuading them over text messaging. Believe me, you're lucky you're not seeing some of the responses, because some of the responses are simply not suitable for a family audience. All right. Well, if you have any other questions, just let us know by going on to the email account, email info@reformcalifornia.org. That's info@reformcalifornia.org. And I thank you all for being part of the biggest grassroots movement in the history of California. Have a great day.